morning, Service Lines community.
You see that? You see that, Zach? I was ready in case you couldn't do it, brother.
I love it, man. I love it.
Look at the commitment at the airport, making it happen, Zach.
Yeah, Mike's on his way. He.
Oh, did we lose? Did we lose Zach? Yeah, we lost Zach. Look at him. Look at him. That's all right. That's all right. So thank you anyway, Zach. We appreciate you so much for helping us out here. And Mark, I feel like this is the first time I got someone with a similar age group. Like I'm always playing with these kids on the morning grind. So I was just, and by the well, let's first introduce you, Mark Kelly. You're of Kelly's Appliance Center in Cotati, California.
That's correct. Cotati, California, northern Sonoma County. I'm born and raised in Northern California. So been in business. I've been doing this almost 40 years. So
40 years. Yeah. Holy mackerel. So,
and I'm even older than you, Doug.
Right. Is that true? That's a beautiful thing. That makes me very happy. Well, welcome to the grind. You know, you and I, we've met on the Laundry Room USA sessions. We've done it through these wonderful Facebook communities. I don't think we've ever met face to face. Is that right, Mark?
Yep, I don't think so. Unless maybe we ran into it.
I want you to know I'm a married man with a lovely wife, but there'll have to be a long embrace at ASSI, okay? Because I don't know, and it may only be one-sided, but I feel like over these last year or two, I could always call you or text you about things because I feel like we have some similar business sort of ground. Would you agree on that one?
Definitely. Like you said, I think the experience and similar age, you know, similar growing up a certain generation. I think you're exactly right. I always enjoyed talking to you.
Well, and you know what's great though is that we're young enough to be hip to know like guys like Kyle and Joe Pranger, those guys who come on every single day. Those guys charge me up. Good morning, Shayna and Adam, and Jeremy as well. So is it now that you have about 10 employees under your belt, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So now. Can you just confirm with everyone it's a piece of cake, the business? It runs.
Exactly. Nothing to it. Just keep at it until you, yeah.
Well, could you give a brief testimony, just a little bit about, you know, how you started and then we'll get into our verse and prayer and we'll get into some discussion.
Sure. Probably like a lot of people started as a one-man show, just going out on my own, learning. Actually, my dad was an appliance technician, worked for Sears and Montgomery Wards back in the day. So rode with him since I was a kid. Started doing it, like I said, just as a one-man show. And then I got to a certain age where I thought, oh, I better, my body's going to give out. I better get some employees to keep this thing going. So keep the income coming in. And so here I am today.
Wow. How long now have you owned Kelly's Appliance Center?
You know, it was just about 30 years.
Wow. All right. That's amazing. Well, you're going to give, are you okay with giving pearls of wisdom and trade secrets to other people on the grind?
No, I got to keep it all to myself. Sorry, Doug.
All right. I'll see if I could, guys, don't worry. I'll see if I could trick it out of him by the end of this morning. All right. I picked a verse out that I think you might be able to relate to, and let me share it with you. It's James 4 verse 6, but he gives us more grace. That's why scriptures say God opposes the proud, but shows favor to the humble. And I chose that verse because I think most of the times that I've reached out to you, it's about trying to get through to employees. Or trying to get the best out of them because, or trying to help them so that they make their stress level less for them by following our ways. And gosh darn it, sometimes it's hard to stay humble and we just want to maybe pinch their head off a little bit or something like that. But we check in with each other to make sure. Firstly, I check in with you to make sure that it happens over in California as well as it does here in Connecticut. And if it does, then I feel like it's normal. And then we just have to team up to figure out how to inspire them as leaders, right?
Exactly, yeah. Although we don't have those problems out here, Doug. Only in the
I mean, I can tell you right now, the Patriots aren't in the Super Bowl, and neither are the 49ers. So I feel like we can start on there, right?
Correct. I know when I talked to Doug yesterday morning, I says, can I talk about my 49ers? And then right about the end of the first half, Doug texted me, are you sure you want to do that?
Oh, man.
It was really got ugly yesterday. But actually, so after the game, I said, no way, I'm not even going to mention them. But then I started thinking about some of the things that happened during the game that kind of play into running a business. You know, one is putting the right person in the right place, you know. And I had an incident last week. My service management training a trainee for several months. And I might ask him, hey, is Brock ready to go out on his own? You know, can he? And he goes, no, not yet. Well, my service manager's daughter got sick Tuesday, and he calls me and says, hey, I got to go pick her up. Brock's going to go finish all the jobs. And, you know, he'll don't worry. He can call me and everything else. And I go, okay. So sure enough, young man did all the jobs, no problem. Dane called in sick again Wednesday. Brock went and did all his jobs Wednesday, called in sick Thursday, did all his jobs. I go, well, I guess he's ready to go on his own. But, you know, I had faith in him because he went through the Master Samurai program. He's been riding along with Dane for several months. He takes notes. He pays attention. He asks the right questions. You know, just a really good young man. So I kind of, that was kind of the Brock Purdy story, right? If anybody knows about the football thing, right? He came in the middle of the season, the last draft pick, and they won 8 straight games with him at quarterback. You know, the coach had confidence in him. He was the right man for the right position and did a good job. Conversely, yesterday when he got hurt and they had to put in the 4th string quarterback, not quite ready for prime time, and it was ugly game.
It was painful to watch that part of it. And we were looking forward to Purdy. And I know that yesterday you made mention. Well, would you like to open us in prayer first, Kelly? Mark?
Sure. Lord, you know, bless us all and watch over us as most of us travel down to San Antonio this week. May we all get inspiration from you and find peace and harmony and goodwill. Amen.
Amen. You know, Mark, I like what you said, but it almost seems like a little, well, it's not contradicted, but you have to explain this to me. All right. So you and I know, and probably many people in business, that you have a plan and you're going through that process. You're training a technician and wondering and waiting, is he ready, and checking in with your other coaches. And then something happens. Someone calls out sick and he steps up. And now your plan has changed permanently because you were adaptive. Now, in your notes, I think one of the things that you said that is important, like did you qualify yourself as a type A type person in the past, or still are?
Probably still am, but learning to get away from that.
So is it a struggle to have a plan, and this is the approach to training, and now I need to make a change, or is that easy as a type A guy?
No, it's very hard, you know, because you have a plan and you want to keep to it. You want to keep to the system, but you got to be adjustable and take it, you know, go on the fly sometimes. I think the biggest part was going from, you know, 1 to 2 techs with, you know, 10 to 20 jobs a day. I knew every job. I knew every customer. I knew when one of my techs was going back to Mrs. Jones' house for the 3rd time. You know, I knew how many recalls he was getting. I knew how many parts he had in his van. You get to 6, 7 techs, 8 techs, you can't keep track of 50, 60 jobs a day, you know. So you have to rely on your numbers, you know, being able to look at reports and say, okay, this guy has too many recalls. We need to address that.
Yeah.
What's happening with this tech's inventory? It's, you know, it's not balancing out. Where are these parts going? So those are the things you can't control everything. You can't watch everything. Then you have to have good people in place that you trust and will, do what do, provide the culture you want to provide for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And you kind of glossed over quickly the first half of that whole thing where I've lost my thought here. Yeah, I can't remember now. Sorry, Mark.
That's okay. I do that all the time.
Yeah. So, yeah, because you kind of got into, I know what it was, that you can't remember every job anymore. I mean, I can relate to that when I came into the office. We kind of had a rule: 2 rings and you need to pick up. You can't have that phone ringing longer, And I would hear it ringing, and I would run and lunge to a desk to grab it and just lay half over it and say, "It's a great day at Action Appliance." And then I'd get done and I'd just look around like, what is going on here? But after a while, I couldn't focus on that one thing, because then I wouldn't be a good leader doing the bigger picture stuff. It's not less important. It's just that we have to prioritize. So I had to teach myself to tone out the phone ringing a little bit, just a little bit, right? And I know that I need to trust other people to care for that area of the business, which is being prompt and picking up the phones. So you are talking about the technicians as your example. So how is your relationship with your service manager, who's kind of like your right-hand man? He knows now all the jobs, right? And he's also talking to the guys more directly than you used to, right? And so how's that been going for you?
Yeah, I mean, luckily he's been with me 10 years now. He's like a son to me. He was 22 years old, I think, when he started working for me. So he's just amazing. And, he rode with me. I knew everything. The difference now is at that time, he rode with me. He rode with me for several months. I knew everything. I knew his kids' names. I knew what he called his wife, and what he had for lunch and everything. He knew intimately this young man. Now I don't. He's trained all the tech since, or that are with me currently, and so I don't know them. I don't know them as well as he knows them. So I don't know do they need a kick in the butt? Do they need a pat on the back? Do they need, do they need to be, criticized? Do they need words of encouragement? I don't know what makes them tick. Like you said, you and I have had this talk a long time. What motivates them? And so, obviously I can be a people person. I can figure it out, but he knows better what they need, and he knows them the way I knew him. So
that's very cool. So is he perfectly fitted as a manager or a leader of people? Do you think he has the qualifications of being able to guide them, teach them, correct them, encourage them, know them? Does he know that's important because it's who he is, or because you wanted that to be who your service manager was going to become?
I think with all of us, we learn, right? We grow into jobs. When I made him that, he probably wasn't ready for it. Not probably, he wasn't ready for it, but he's learned from it. Like all of us, hopefully we learn from our mistakes. We grow. We say, aha, that doesn't work. I need to do this. We sit and talk about it. I know, because we work so closely together for so long, he knows what I want. He knows our culture. He knows we don't sell a customer a part they don't need. We don't do service for stuff. We're honest and fair and give people the right. And he knows that. We don't badmouth competitors. It's one thing that I've always been. Most of the other companies in my area are friends of mine. I've known them. Like I said, I've been here for 60 years. So I know them all. And so we don't say, no matter what, I don't say, oh, we don't badmouth our competitors. And he knows that. And so he's really grown into that position well, and he's learned, and he's better than I am. He's a better technician than I am, and he's a better, and a better trainer. I think one time we were talking, he says, hey, eventually you had to get your service manager off the road. And I don't. Mine's still on the road.
Ooh.
And and it's hard to take your best technician off the road. I mean, it seems so counterintuitive to business, but I understand what you were trying to tell me and stuff. And we've worked a plan where we're going to get there, but I'm not brave enough yet, Doug.
Well, no, but I think it is an important next step for a business. I was just talking with another, I think brother sister ownership, and they're in the same boat with like 6 guys or 7 guys, and their service managers on the road. And I told them, and then this isn't to try to push you off the ledge, but here's the deal. I love what you just said in the last 3 or 4 minutes about, I know what your culture is. I know what Mark Kelly stands for, and I love that you expect that in all your people. Do the right thing. Never cheat or lie, right? Be excellent at what you do. That's at the top of your list of important things, and then the money kind of follows, right, Mark? Exactly. So that's why we're friends, even through this broken system of Facebook and Zoom and texting and morning grinds. We both feel the same way. So the question is like, I feel like taking your service manager off the road, let's not downplay it. Me personally, I remember the last year I was on the road, I did like 356,000 in revenue. So that's gone. And then the owner has to pay me a salary to be in the office. And then I have to make sure that when I get off the road, that enough change happens fast enough. Well, firstly, so that I don't feel like I'm going to lose my job, just how I felt. I worried about that. But it's an important next step. And I almost put it in the same camp as anyone who's ever said, oh my gosh, I got to raise my rates. I'm afraid to raise my rates. I'm afraid to take that. What happens if it doesn't work out? It'll always work out, I think, if you have all your priorities right and your process and systems in place ahead of time, which it sounds like you do, Mark. So maybe if you're avoiding me, that means that you're afraid I'm going to push you. But I think it's exciting. But I think the step one before even pulling them off the road, and I'll give that as a personal testimony from me and my current service manager who went the same route as me, there was no system of KPI or expectations that can be measured for me when I came off the road. So there were plenty of times that I was nervous and worried and unsure if I was had a good impact or not. So I feel like your service manager, you want to learn from my mistakes, is set them up for success and say, well, here's the numbers. Let's see if we can change those numbers when you come off the road. And then from there, it's going to be rewarding and exciting for the guy who's got the hot light on them, the heat lamp, right? But as the owner, it probably would give you peace to know, yes, that was a good decision. Instead of flip-flopping on looking at your profit loss statement, looking at the revenue, looking at the callback rate go down, you're kind of speculating. And then if there's a bad week, you're like, oh my gosh, was it worth it? So it's a big step though, Mark, What's your service manager's first name?
Dane.
Dane. That's wonderful. He's been with you a long time. So what are like a couple big things that you've learned on your journey so far, going from a one-man show to now? Like, what do you think is key for someone who's in that's next stage coming up?
I think don't allow your frustrations to boil over. Again, I'm going back to the 49er game. I think one of the problems with that was the coach, Shanahan. He was frustrated with the situation. He lost his cool. He lost his composure. And then you saw the team lose their composure, all these penalties and fighting. I mean, it was just an ugly, ugly end of the game. And again, maybe the type A personality. There was a time I was pretty hard. I could be harsh on, an employee or a technician. So learning to stay composed, because if you lose your composure with them, if you get, you're going to get frustrated, but if you lose your composure and lose your temper with them, that's going to show them that they can lose their composure, maybe with your customer, maybe with another employee. You don't want to build that culture in your business where people are yelling at each other. And, that's just.
That's a powerful example that just happened last night, right? The fights towards the end, the frustration from the 49ers, it always starts at the top. And so, yeah, the head coach has to take on all that heat and all that pressure and lead by example, even when you mark your own personal feelings, if you were offended by an employee, whether it was intentional or not, if you're discouraged or frustrated, I know there's healthy ways to do it, but and there's also unhealthy ways to do that too, right? So you don't get to say what you feel most of the time. Would you say that's true, Mark?
Oh, definitely. You got to say that to your wife or your friends or somebody else, but not.
That's right.
Not the employees, right? Or Doug. I'll call Doug and voice my frustrations. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else that you can think of besides having to eat crap? Is that how we summarize that whole thing? Eat crap for the better, because your service manager, you never said that he struggled and had ebbs and flows, but they all do. But that's an example of success. You grew him straight up from the beginning, and he's now your service manager, and he knows what you believe in. So you got to remember that, of course, when you're starting to beat yourself up that you think you're letting your team down, you have to celebrate those victories with your service manager's rise here, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And yeah, of course he's had his ups and downs, but like I said, he learns and grows from it every day. And so,
yeah. Anything else that helps you be successful?
Well, so what happens when you go from 1 or 2 techs to 6 or 7 techs is everything, multiplies, right? The great thing is the revenue multiplies, but the problems multiply and the expenses multiply. I kind of look at the business as like a reservoir, and, the revenue is all the water going into it and the expenses are coming out. And the leaks are the inventory that doesn't get returned, or the parts that disappear, or subscriptions maybe that you have that you don't use anymore. There's all these leaks. And one thing that can sink your company is having too many leaks. You got to find the leaks and plug the leaks. You got to run your numbers all the time and find out, where is this money going? What, the payroll and everything else. So everything multiplies. And so the mistakes, you got to be finer in your processes and your policies.
Yeah, no doubt.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I was just going to say about the policies. I'm in some ways, I'm more lenient than my office manager and my service manager are. So, if a tech, if some employee comes, oh, can I do? Oh, yeah. I'll probably let them do. Just like my kids. My kids are spoiled, so they all, they did whatever they want. They knew they had dad wrapped around their finger. So, so my employees are kind of the same way. But the good thing about my office manager and my service manager is they say, no, this is a company policy. You can't do that. This is what you have to do. So they really do. It's better I stay out of the way. You talked about answering the phone, when it rings. It drives me nuts when the phone's ringing and nobody's it. And I'll get it. And then I realize I don't even barely know how to set up a job. I can't. What am I answering the phone for? What am I going to do? So
that's your protection is you don't know how to do it anymore. So now you can't meddle. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, you're a visionary. You put together what you want this company to look like. And now you need strong integrators, strong people that follow process and maybe even help you create that process, right? And then you have to be careful not to step in and create waves. I think that's how you just described that. So that's really cool. So you have a great office manager and a great service manager that keeps the chaos to a minimum, right?
Yeah, definitely.
What was your process in getting all your procedures in place? Was it over time? Did you shut the whole company down, or did you have them from the very start? How did you do that?
Did not have anything from the very start. So everything evolved over time, realizing. And to be honest, the Service Alliance group was a great inspiration in, getting more SOPs in place. It was like, because when you start out as one man, you know how to run a service call. You don't write it all down. You don't think about all the steps involved until you have another tech and you go, hey, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And you realize, oh, because I didn't tell you need to do this. I thought you were just paying attention and you remember.
Right.
But no, I got to write all this, you got to write it all down. You got to write it. So yeah, it just evolved over time. And, and you mentioned them, my office manager and service manager do a lot of that fine tuning. I'm the visionary. I have the ideas and I spit them all out, but they're the ones that organize them and make them work.
Yeah. Well, again, type A, visionary, it all lines up, Mark. You're kind of like the artist there. I was thinking that under process and procedure, do you have them all written down in a manual, or do you have them online? Like how does that work? We
have them all written down in a binder. Exactly. And the employee handbook is very outdated. That's our current project, is to get it updated and everything all in one handbook instead of having all these different policies and structures in different places and different things, kind of integrate it all into one handbook. And again, the Service Alliance group, they have some great stuff on the webpage there, handbooks and SOPs for pretty much everything. So
I like what you said earlier. Like when we were techs on the road, we had our own, we already knew what we knew. And so when we didn't know something, we had our own way of going and getting that information. As I found that we've grown as a company, at first I was slightly not offended, but discouraged. Like, why is this technician asking these questions? Like, where do I get a schematic from? Like, I told you already, go here, go there. And then I was like, why do they think that, like, they didn't have to spoon feed me. Jay didn't have to spoon feed me. He would show me once, and then I would be like, well, I don't want to be left high and dry the next time. So I made sure I kept track of how to get there and how to get that information. But I realized that when somebody gets hired at Action Appliance and I introduce them to the office manager and the service manager and the parts manager, and, we're here for you to help you and support you and take care of you and set you up for success. So I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth. Go, man. That's how I did it. Right. And then I'm saying, hey, welcome to this company where we're full support company to take care of you. So I agree with you. Service Alliance is a great place. Appliantology, right?
Yeah.
UASA's library, MSA's library, Service Matters. Do you do any warranty work, Mark, to get
Very little. I do Bosch and I do InSinkErator, oddly enough, that just happened 35 years ago and I never stopped installing new disposals. But so not too much. But that is, that's another point with growing, is filling up schedules, right? I mean, my focus in the beginning was bringing in revenue, right? I'm basically 50% of when there's two techs, you're 50% of the revenue or more. So my focus is just doing more jobs. I'll do a few jobs on Saturday. I'll do an extra job every day. Okay, bring in more revenue, Now my focus is getting more jobs, filling up their schedule. And so everybody has to look at how to do that there, whether it's doing warranty work, whether it's offering different services, dryer duct cleaning or appliance installations, or servicing off brands that you don't service. Or third party, you got to fill the gap, or advertising, right? I don't do, I guess mostly because I've been around so long, and it's a small community, it's a small county, and so everybody kind of knows me after this many years and stuff. So I don't do much advertising. So luckily word of mouth and stuff like that is doing, but as you grow, you gotta find more, where you gotta expand your service area, so.
Isn't that funny how our mindset changes? Like it's all in and all out type thing. Like we know a lot of people on Facebook, and you'll see them say, yeah, I don't, I don't repair that brand, or I don't do dishwashers because they don't don't often turn into repairs. And at that point, you can be choosy a little bit. You can be selective, but at some point, when the monster is absorbing all your expenses, you're going to need as much work as possible. And I think you got to change your vision too to be a company that services, all brands to sustain it moving forward, right?
Right.
And your guys they probably love it, right? When a Bertazzoni or some like big range comes in, they're probably like, "Yeah, boss, thank you so much for that call." Is that how they do that in California?
Yeah, right. No, but
Yeah.
that's a great point. Yeah, it is what you got to keep feeding the monster, right? Feeding the fire.
Yeah. And for me, I recognized a long time ago, as your expenses rise and you have a bigger support team and you have a lot of technicians, to make that phone ring gets more expensive for you. And so you got to have a really good system of staying in contact with the customer, or a good leave behind. Is that something that you have that helps them, or is it just like a small wine town where everybody's wearing cowboy boots and jeans and a hat, and they go, "Y'all got to call Mark"? I mean, like, how does that work? Do you have a leave behind system or program or paperwork?
Yeah, we do. We have a brochure leave behind. We leave magnets. The there's a company out here called Diamond Certified, and they're kind of a marketing thing, but it's somewhat prestigious to be Diamond Certified in the Bay Area. They call all, you just give them a list of your customers, they call them all, they survey them all. If you get over 75% 9s and 10s, they will make you Diamond Certified. And so they made a really beautiful brochure for us that we can leave at customers' houses. And like you said, the magnets on the refrigerator and the washer. And yeah, so
I'm not sure if that's racist or not. They're calling me a Yankee. Is that anyway? I don't want to start a firestorm here, but well, let me ask you something, Mark, because there's some guys out there that want to be a one-man show forever. Hey, Zach, and that's okay. And matter of fact, that's a great thing. If you do what you want to do and you set goals for yourself, what are the rewards? What have been the rewards for your hard work and commitment to grow your business to this size? Like, what are the benefits of being Mark Kelly?
Right.
A fan of.
So, one of the great rewards for me is my team. They're like family to me. It's great to see them all have jobs. I can't tell you how many times I say, I love working for you. I love Kelly's Appliance. That's the most rewarding thing. My kids didn't really want to do this job, this business. So I figured that once I decided to go off into the sunset, that would be the end of Kelly's Appliance. Now it looks like it will sustain. And so it's great to see, that they have this love of the company. Obviously the revenue is nice. The money is great. And I'm going to ASTI this week. Before, when I'd go to ASTI, 50% of my revenue would be gone for a week while I went, plus the expense of going and everything. Now they don't even miss me. So those are some of the good rewards.
Yeah. So love of people, right? You're building a team, and you're all focused on that goal of succeeding. And yeah, that can definitely fuel you. Do you think about your legacy? Do you plan on, what would be your plan? Would you sell it to somebody that's working for you, or would you just get really like Buddha in a back office somewhere and you just come in every day and just lay there?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was my exit plan originally, was to sell it. And maybe that still will be, I don't know. Luckily I'm at a point where, like I said, they can run it and I can just benefit from it to the most part, so, but yeah, that I don't know that I think I sat in with you on the Dean Landers, UASA webinar about how to how to sell the business or how to get out, how to, your succession plan. And I listened to it, and it was great. I got a lot of great information, but I still don't have a plan.
It's a little overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
But it sounds like, so do you have any plans for your company to grow a bit more or to change directions?
Yeah. So the kid who was on his own last week, he's going out on his own. He's a tech now, and my parts manager wants to be a tech, so he's moving into the trainee position. So I'll just keep training guys and gals. I have a female technician too, who's awesome. I'll just keep training techs, until I run out, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Zach, do you have some words of wisdom for Mark and I as the young guy with the bigger gray beard than both of us?
No, Mike and I can sit here and listen to the conversation. Here comes Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Hanging out in the airport waiting for the plane.
Yeah.
Ready to go. That's why I popped in. But dude, the conversation is fantastic. I love the idea of getting your SOPs. Like, it doesn't seem like it matters as much when you're one or two people, but then all of a sudden you get beyond that, and it becomes so much more meaningful, So we've just enjoyed this conversation, and just listening to your wisdom. You become such a good friend, the last year. So we're excited.
I'm having a hard time hearing this.
We're excited to see where this heads for you. Can you hear me still?
Oh, there you go. I'm sorry, Zach. Yeah, it was having a hard time.
It's all right. It's this, in the airport. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, no, I understand. I appreciate you having me on. It was great. Thank you very much. Yeah, I've always actually, Zach's the first one I kind of met on this whole Facebook thing, talking with and chatting with. So it's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool to see you growing, and you even gave Mike and I ideas. We're sitting here going, oh, how can we do this? How can we do that? As we're listening into your conversation, going, how can we help the business owner, just take it to that next level? So it's on our radar. So anyway, but we're looking forward to seeing both of you guys at ASTI.
Absolutely.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it.
So I don't know. Do you call the morning grind like a version of a mastermind, like a watered down level 1 mastermind? I mean, all these online conversation caused Mark and I to become friends. And every once in a while, I'm like kicking myself, and I call Mark and I whine, and he goes, "Yeah, I got that problem. Yeah, I got that problem." And then either we come up with something, or I leave encouraged that it can be fixed. And so, I mean, this community is really important to us. And so, but if you're not in a mastermind or peer group, are you in a peer group or mastermind, Mark?
Yes, I am. Actually, I got my guys through Service Alliance.
Beautiful.
Still, and 2 of them will be at ASTI this week. One, Justin couldn't make it, but the other 2 are going to be there. So yeah, I'm be good. I've never met them in person, so it'll be awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, JT and Andrew, how you doing?
I was going to say, you have JT. JT was one of JT and Dr. Dan were my first 2 friends in this industry. Even before I got into any appliance groups, I knew JT and Dr. Dan.
Friends?
So, but yeah, it's really cool how the network begins to grow and the ideas begin to spin around, and you learn something new from all the different voices that you hear. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna our sponsors real quick, and then we're gonna wrap up. So we got My Office Help. She's traveling down tomorrow, I believe, or Wednesday. Shayna with My Office Help. They are your back end office. They answer your phone, schedule your calls. They can even do some bookkeeping for you. TMM Academics, Brother B. If you need to train your technicians, they have great options for online as well as down there in Florida to get training in person, sealed systems, and regular appliance repair. And then ITD Web Designs, the guy that was hanging out over my shoulder, Mike Carson, you dream it, he builds it. Websites, SEO, all the fun stuff for your online web presence, the things to bring that cost per click down. What Mark and Doug were talking about earlier, it gets more expensive the more guys you have. When you use SEO and a good web presence, it gets a little bit cheaper. So reach out to any of those sponsors, and then Service Alliance Group. This is your last week to sign up for a mastermind. You heard Mark allude to it. He got to meet a group through the mastermind. So February 4th, the end of the week, registration closes. We start
Saturday.
It's Saturday. We start the mastermind February 11th. So make sure you sign up, servicealliancegroup.com. If you are an all access member, 50% off. If you are not, there is still a link to join. It's pinned in all the Facebook groups. We appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys running and taking over the grind this morning and handling business while we're all traveling. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys.
Absolutely.
You
Thank
too.
you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good day, guys.
Thanks.